We speak, family and friends of the late wrestling legend Hulk Hogan are gathering at a Largo church to celebrate his life.
The air was heavy with emotion as Linda Hogan stepped out of the black limousine, her heart breaking, her hands trembling. Her world, once so full of love and shared memories with the man who was larger than life, had just shattered. The woman who had been a part of Hulk Hogan's life for 24 years was now standing at the threshold of a painful goodbye, clinging to the weight of the loss. Beside her, Sky Daly, his widow, held onto yellow roses, the same roses that defined the legacy of her late husband. The color that had accompanied Hulk's journey through the ropes of the squared circle. As they approached the church doors, the tension in the air was palpable. Outside, the wrestling world was holding its collective breath. A quiet stillness descended upon Indian Rocks Baptist Church in Largo, Florida. The grief was universal, but so was the deep respect and reverence. Cars lined the street, a procession of legendary figures and mourners, each person coming to pay their respects to a man who had done more than entertain. Hulk Hogan had been a beacon for an entire generation. He wasn't just a wrestler, he was an icon who taught us all to believe, to never back down from a fight, and to stand tall no matter the odds. His death wasn't merely the end of a career, it was the closing of a chapter in the story of American pop culture. This was the final bell. Inside the church, blacked-out SUVs and private jets had ferried some of the biggest names from wrestling and Hollywood. The air was thick with the sorrow of what was lost. Yet, as mourners arrived, the mystery of the day deepened. Who were these figures stepping out of limousines, these legends who had come to say goodbye? What unseen dramas unfolded behind closed doors, and what secrets did they hold? The internet buzzed with conspiracy theories, each post more elaborate than the last. Then the doors swung open, and there he was, Vince McMahon, the man who, alongside Hogan, had turned the world of wrestling into something that reached beyond the confines of the ring. McMahon, now 79, had been largely absent from the public eye. But in that moment, his presence spoke volumes. This wasn't just a former business partner, it was a man who had stood beside Hogan through thick and thin. Together, they battled legal wars, created one of the most iconic brands in the world, and helped build WrestleMania into the cultural phenomenon it is today. As he arrived, he seemed to carry the weight of those years on his shoulders. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon soon followed. Their expressions were raw with grief. For Triple H, Hogan was the very definition of a superstar, the blueprint for everything that came after. Stephanie, the daughter of Vince, was representing a new generation of wrestling royalty. Both of them understood that Hulk Hogan wasn't just a character in a ring. He was the man who made it all possible, but it was Ric Flair's arrival that set the world on fire. The Nature Boy, 76 years old and still larger than life, stepped out of his limo. His black suit accented with the iconic yellow that Hogan had worn throughout his career. It wasn't just an outfit, it was a tribute. Flair had shared some of the most epic moments in wrestling with Hogan, and here he was, visibly shaken. In the aftermath, he posted a message on social media. Even in heaven, he sold out again. It was a fitting tribute, a tearful salute to a friendship that had transcended professional rivalries. And then, as the mourners continued to arrive, there was Dennis Rodman. The NBA Hall of Famer, with his colorful personality, had once become an unlikely wrestling figure. His bond with Hogan had been a partnership that went beyond the ring, creating a friendship that, like Hulk himself, defied expectations. Rodman arrived subdued, the gravity of the moment holding even his larger-than-life persona in check. This wasn't just a funeral. It was a gathering of legends, a celebration of a man whose impact stretched far beyond the ropes of the wrestling ring. As the mourners filled the church, one thing was clear: Hulk Hogan was not just a wrestler. He was an immortal figure whose legacy will live on forever. The parade of celebrities continued, with Kid Rock stepping out of his vehicle. The musician, who had shared a decades-long friendship with Hulk Hogan, represented yet another testament to Hogan's crossover appeal. Not only had he dominated the world of wrestling, But Hogan had also managed to seamlessly bridge the gap between sports entertainment, Hollywood, and mainstream music culture. As Kid Rock entered the church, it was clear that his composure was faltering, his devastation at the loss of his longtime friend evident in every step. But then came a surprise. The unlikeliest of attendees, comedian Theo Von, walked through the doors. Known for his offbeat humor, Theo's somber expression told a different story. His presence was a nod to how much of an influence Hogan had on the new wave of entertainers. Theo had idolized the Hulkster as a kid, and now here he was, marking his respect in a moment that felt much heavier than any of his usual comedic routines. However, as with any funeral, it's the unexpected moments that often catch the most attention. What happened next inside that church would leave everyone speechless. The buzz on social media was immediate, especially when it came to family dynamics. Linda Hogan, his ex-wife, was present as expected. Despite their acrimonious divorce in 2009, she had remained firmly connected to Hogan's legacy, honoring the father of her children. But the absence of their daughter, Brooke Hogan, stirred controversy. For nearly 2 years, Brooke had been estranged from her father, with personal disputes and family drama publicly playing out. Her absence at the funeral quickly became a trending topic. Fans were divided. Some expressed understanding of the fractured relationship, while others voiced disappointment. It left many asking, should Brooke have put aside their differences for this final farewell? As the ceremony unfolded, it was clear that the tribute was a masterclass in emotional storytelling. The pallbearers, many of them WWE legends themselves, wore yellow Britannia Res, Hogan's iconic color, a subtle but powerful symbol of his legacy. The casket, draped with memorabilia from his illustrious career, was a personal display of Hulk's life. Among the tributes, a sticker of Donald Trump caught the eye of many, a reflection of Hogan's political connections and the complexities of his later years. Then came Vince McMahon's unannounced speech, the moment that would bring the room to a standstill. Vince, who had always been composed, was visibly shaken. In a raw, unscripted moment, he opened his heart. Terry wasn't just a wrestler, he said, using Hogan's real name, his voice breaking. He was the bridge between what wrestling was and what it could become. It wasn't just a eulogy. It was a reflection of a shared history, of years spent building an empire together. As the service came to a close, an unexpected moment arrived, a standing ovation that lasted nearly 5 minutes. The church, filled with wrestling legends, Hollywood icons, and countless fans, stood in a show of respect that transcended the usual confines of a funeral. It was a tribute not just to the man, but to the impact he had on so many lives. Hulk Hogan wasn't just a legend, he was a force of nature, and in that room, his legacy was solidified in a way that no one would soon forget. As the attendees slowly began to file out of the church, the heavy silence was pierced by quiet conversations, soft embraces, and the occasional sniffle. Many wiped away their tears, holding on to the memories of a man who had been larger than life. But even as the service ended, the story didn't stop there. What followed in the aftermath of Hogan's funeral would reveal shocking truths about his final days, the unresolved family tensions, and an industry left reeling from the loss of its most iconic figure. What happened behind those closed doors, when the legends and celebrities gathered privately? Who broke down completely in moments of raw, unfiltered grief? And perhaps the most pressing question: what does Hogan's passing mean for the future of professional wrestling? The man who once preached to millions to train hard, say their prayers, and eat their vitamins had taken his final bow. But his legacy, with all its complexities, controversies, and undeniable influence, continues to shape the very entertainment world he helped build. This wasn't just the funeral of a wrestler, it marked the end of an era that was witnessed not just by fans, but by the very legends who helped create it. As the world of wrestling changes, one thing remains certain: Hogan's impact can never be replaced. If this emotional tribute moved you, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more untold stories from the world of wrestling. We want to know, what's your favorite Hulk Hogan moment? Did you spot any celebrities we missed? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your engagement is what keeps these legendary stories alive. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss our exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Until next time, keep the wrestling spirit alive, and remember, the legend of Hulk Hogan will never fade.